Today we're going to be counting down the top 5 reptiles for tarantula and invert keepers, and we're starting right now. Welcome to the Tarantula Collective. My name is Richard, and normally I make videos about tarantulas, scorpions, and other invertebrates. But today is a special video, and we're doing something a little bit different. Today we're going to be counting down the top 5 reptiles for people like myself that mainly just keep tarantulas, scorpions, and millipedes, and isopods, and all that stuff. These are going to be great beginner or transition species. Maybe not the most common and easiest to care for, but with the experience we have as tarantula and invert keepers, these reptiles will be very easy to take care of. But as you know, I am no reptile expert, so I've invited my friend Adam to collaborate with me in this video and help me count down the top 5 reptiles for tarantula keepers.
Hey Richard, thanks for having me on your channel. I'm really excited to talk to your audience about reptiles. My name's Adam from Wickens Wicked Reptiles. I make videos about all sorts of reptiles and amphibians. The only invertebrate that I keep in my collection is this falsity here, and he came with a house.
Thanks, Adam. It is awesome having you. Now, the number 5 reptile is a species that I actually am not very familiar with, but it does come from southern China and has these awesome red eyes. And you know what? I'm just going to let Adam tell you all about it.
Chinese cave geckos amp up the cool factor in comparison to leopard geckos and African fat tails like you might have seen in every pet store you've ever walked into. I would definitely consider Chinese cave geckos to be a beginner species. Basically anybody can take care of these guys, a terrestrial species that don't need a lot of height, do really well in a naturalistic or a very bare bones utilitarian type of setup. It's really up to you, but why you would love these guys is because not only are they easy to care for, but they're really cool to watch interact with each other. You can have a couple in a terrarium if you want, or keep them individually. They have these really strong feet, these really bright eyes. The banding across the head and the body is very unique, very bright yellows most of the time. They do sometimes flame down, which means that they become a little bit darker, but sometimes they'll flame up. This can depend on their mood and also their temperature as well. This species you would keep much cooler than you would keep a leopard gecko. They look a little bit different, and their diet consists of basically what you'd feed a tarantula anyway. I think these are a perfect gecko for an invert keeper.
That is awesome, and I'm seriously considering adding one of those geckos to my collection. Now, the number 4 reptile on this list is a large snake that, it's probably a little too big for me to have in my collection, but based on its care and husbandry, it'll make a great reptile if you're looking to add a large snake to your tarantula collection. But don't take my word on it, let's listen to Adam.
Of the bigger constrictor species, dumeril boas are one of my favorite. They are big enough that they are impressive, they have beautiful colors and coloration, but they aren't dangerous to humans. No dumeril boa is gonna kill you or hurt you, and even if they do bite, which they are very reluctant to do, it's not medically significant. This is very unlikely to happen. The reason I love this ground boa from Madagascar, not only are they beautiful, but they're super easy to keep. They're gonna be kept at very cool temperatures in comparison to other boas that you'd find on the market. By far, this is the most unique species that basically anybody can afford. And because they're kept at cooler temperatures, they don't really need to eat that much, so you're only going to be having to feed them about once a month. Although really easy to take care of, and I think because of their uniqueness would be great for any invert keeper, keep in mind they can grow sometimes between 6 and 9 feet, an impressive constrictor species that doesn't cost a lot to maintain and is really fun to handle.
See, I told you that was a big snake. Now, the number 3 reptile on this list is a species I'm very excited about. If you've been following this channel, you know I've got a couple of leopard geckos, and I also keep a giant day gecko. So I'm fairly fond of geckos in general. But Adam's saying he's got an amazing gecko species that is ideal for tarantula keepers. So what do you got to say, Adam?
I've got to let you know about crested geckos, maybe one of the most common species in the pet trade with tons of morph. They can look very different from each other and very easy to keep. This gecko will grow sometimes up to 10 inches, but half of that body length is its tail. They come off really easy and they do not grow back. Nothing to worry about. They can live fine, healthy lives with these little frog butts they get when they don't have that tail. These geckos like their temperatures in the mid-70s, which is pretty easy for most keepers, especially an invert keeper who might not be used to using very high temperatures and hot basking bulbs. You don't need this, and you don't need UVB or any special lighting as long as you have a photo period for your crested gecko. This species was thought to be extinct until 1994, and now they are very available, they're very easy to afford, they eat a powdered diet, something like Pangea, and they're really fun to handle. These guys are an amazing gecko that you might want to consider.
That is an amazing gecko, and they sound fairly easy to take care of. So I'm going to add that to my personal list of reptiles to add in the future. Thanks, dude. Now the number 2 reptile on this list is actually another snake, but this is not a snake that I'm very familiar with. So once again, I'm turning it over to Adam. So what can you tell us about this rat snake, Adam?
Mandarin rat snakes are a medium-sized species of colubrid, a longer, thinner body, but still only getting to about 4 or 4.5 feet long. The enclosure doesn't have to be immense, very cool temperatures in comparison to most snakes that you'd find on the market. We're talking about sometimes in the high 60s or low 70s is where these guys find their temperatures comfortable, and the humidity is very easy to handle as well. Of all the non-venomous species of snake that you could possibly keep, Mandarin rat snakes are likely the most beautiful, not only in their color, but in their pattern as well, and super easy to care for, not super big, but very impressive to you and anyone who might be looking at your collection.
Now the number 1 reptile on this list is a species of snake that I've actually been considering getting for a while now. I've been fascinated by this species ever since I saw my first one at a reptile convention a few years ago. So I was very excited when I saw this species and the number 1 slot on this list. The snake looks cool, is easy to take care of, and is very unique. But don't take my word for it. What do you got to say, Adam?
The Plains hognose, more commonly referred to as the Western hognose, is probably the most interesting colubrid that there is that is common in the pet hobby, not only because they've got tons of morphs that you could choose from their normal looking coloring and patternation to albinos and even anacondas with a reduced pattern. These guys are absolutely amazing. They're becoming very popular in the hobby. They're not expensive to keep or maintain, and because they only get between 1.5 and 3 feet if you get a really big female, it's very easy to house them. The cost to start up is very low, and they're going to eat mice their entire lives, so you'll never have to worry about a more expensive rat as a feeder. Hognose snakes are also diurnal, which means if you're someone who's around during the day, you'll see your animal cruising around. They're not very shy most of the time, but if they are, they'll bluff strike at you rather than bite you, which is a good sign because these guys do have a mild venom, a saliva that is a little bit more advanced than a regular snake. They call them rear fang venomous because the fangs are at the back of the mouth. It needs to be chewed into you. Nothing medically significant, very rare to get bit, but something to be aware of if a Western hognose snake might be something you're thinking about getting. So if you're looking for a little shovel-faced friend who's unlikely to bite you, very colorful, and has a really cool, unique type of scale that feels different in your hands, a Western hognose snake might be the best for you.
Okay, you are right. That sounds like an amazing snake for a tarantula keeper. Low cost, easy to take care of, house and feed, out during the day, low venom, amazing colors. It sounds freaking amazing. And I'm even more excited now than I was before about possibly adding one to my collection in the near future. Now, I really appreciate you coming on my channel and talking about reptiles, dude. But before we go, is there anything else you want to say?
If you want to learn more about reptiles, come on over to Wickens Wicked Reptiles. I do videos twice a week. And Richard, thank you very much for having me on your channel. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to your audience about reptiles, and I look forward to having you come and talk about tarantulas on my channel.
Well, thanks, dude. I really appreciated you coming on my channel as well, and I look forward to doing that video with you. In fact, I'll have your video, the top 5 tarantulas for reptile keepers, linked at the end of this video if you guys want to check that out. And while you're watching that video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Wickens Wicked Reptiles. If there are any other species of reptiles you think would make a great first reptile for a tarantula keeper, make sure to tell me about it down below in the comments. If you want to watch Wickens Wicked Reptiles top 5 tarantulas for reptile keepers, just check out this video right here. And if you want to catch up on all my past top 10 lists, just check out this video right here. As always, I appreciate you watching. Subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks for buying Tarantula Collective merchandise, and I will see you next Tuesday.
I don't give a...